Hey everybody, this is Phoenix. Today I wanted to show you something that's going to be introduced real soon in the 1.5 update, called an automatic storage system. Now there are probably a bunch of other versions of this technology out there, although I personally haven't seen any, but this one has the advantage of being really simple. There's almost no redstone wiring involved and almost no minecart engineering either. So here's the scenario. Let's say that I've just come back from a long day in the boat mines. I have a lot of valuables on me, as you can see, and I don't want to fall in lava and die and lose everything. But I also don't really want to walk 60 meters up this staircase or ladder or whatever I've got. In previous versions of Minecraft, I pretty much had no choice. I'd have to either just stash everything in a chest down here somewhere and pick it up later, or just hoof it back to my base and put everything away. In 1.5, though, I have another option. I can just drop all of it in this storage minecart. And as soon as I put the last boat in there, it automatically goes up to the surface. But wait, there's more. If you wait just a couple more seconds, my cart is back, and now it's empty so I can fill it up again. Or so it would seem. Let's take a look at how this works. First, let me warn you that while this system doesn't use any glitches or bugs that I'm aware of, it does use some quirks of minecart track physics, and so it's subject to the southeast rule. You can read more about that on the wiki article. But the point is, this contraption here needs to be oriented so that the minecart is on either the west side or the north side. I haven't actually tested it with the minecart on the north, but here it's on the west side, so it's facing east here, and it all works fine. It will not work if the minecart is on the south side or the east side, however, so please keep that in mind. There are two major components to this auto-send mechanism here. The first involves a redstone comparator, which is one of the new 1.5 blocks. A comparator can do a bunch of things, but the feature we're using here is that it can convert a redstone signal into an analog signal whose strength is related to how full the inventory next to it is. This cart here is actually setting on a detector rail, so this comparator is measuring how full the cart is when it's sitting on the rail. The details are kind of complicated, but the important part is that when the cart is completely full, the redstone signal it emits here will extend exactly 15 squares. So you can see this redstone trail here is exactly 15 squares long. If the cart is full, this last square will be activated, which will activate this repeater, which just brings the signal back up to full strength. So if this redstone here is activated, it means that the cart is full. So this T-intersection here is the most complicated part of the redstone. On the left, we have just one piece of redstone powering this block here, on which is resting this piston. On the right, we send the signal through an inverter using this redstone torch here, and it feeds into this piston, which is extended by default because the power is off. Those pistons push and pull these two track segments here. So by default, the signal's off, so this piston is extended, this track piece is adjacent to the track here, and this piston is not extended, so this track piece is not adjacent to the track here. Why would we want to do this? Well, here's why. Let's say I place a block here and place a piece of rail here. If I then place a piece of rail up here, this one forms a slope. Now this is good because if this forms a slope, the minecart will fall down the slope, hit this powered rail here, and accelerate up the slope to the surface. That's why this piston here exists. When the power turns on, it pushes this track into place, this turns into a slope, and up we go. The reason for this piston is that once you remove this block, the slope actually stays. That's bad, because if the minecart comes back down here, and this is still a slope, it's just going to accelerate right back up again before this detector rail has a chance to read it. So to fix that, we place this rail adjacent on the same level, which causes this track piece to reset to a flat piece. Now there's one last piece of the puzzle that I haven't shown you yet, and that's what everything looks like up at the surface. Here it is. This is right after we sent that minecart up full of boats. You can see the minecart is empty, this hopper underneath the minecart is empty, and all of our boats are in this chest. But you can also see that I've lied to you. because this is the cart we sent up, but there's already a cart down there. There are actually 2 carts in this system, which is why it returns so quickly. Anybody who's been playing around with a 1.5 snapshot can probably notice that the hopper actually takes quite a while to extract all of the blocks from a minecart chest into a permanent chest. That's also why I was using boats rather than, say, stacks of diamond, because it would have taken forever to get all, however many, 27 stacks of 64 diamond into this chest. You don't have to care about that, though, because as soon as this chest reaches the top, the chest that was waiting here will be dispatched back down to the bottom. So here's how that works. It's really pretty simple. As the chest comes up from our mines, it triggers this detector rail right here, which powers this redstone line, which is just freakishly long because I tried to make it obvious what was going on. That powers a powered rail underneath this cart. Because of the orientation and which way is east, this cart will prefer to turn this corner on its way out, which will cause this cart to be traveling on a different track than the incoming cart, which means they don't collide, which is great. This cart then hits the powered rail and zips down the slope back into the mine. And that's really all there is to it. Okay, let's see how to actually build this now. Let's start at the bottom in your mine. You should have some powered rail heading up to the surface. It's not actually vital that every one of these rails be powered, but you want enough that your cart has sufficient velocity to reach the top. At the bottom, put at least 2, no more than about 3, unpowered rail. This gives your cart a little bit of time to slow down before it hits this, which will be an unpowered powered rail piece when the cart is incoming. This will cause the cart to slow down dramatically. It will then hit this detector rail, which has a solid block after it. Now, if you've done this correctly, then if you place a cart here, and get out of the way so that it doesn't do that, well, when that cart comes back in just a second, you'll see that it will slow down a little bit, slow down a lot, and then end up flush against this block. If it bounces back, then it will hit this rail, which is now powered, because the activator, or the detector rail, will power it, and head back up out of your mine immediately, which defeats the whole purpose. So now that you've got this, put a block to the, well, left or right, depending on whether you're doing it east-facing or south-facing, and then another block here. Place a piston on this block, diagonal from the edge here. Place a piece of normal rail in front of the piston, so it should be 1 square away from your detector rail. Place another piece of rail here, and another piston on the last block on top. Alright, now let's put our comparator here. So we place the comparator next to the detector rail. It doesn't matter whether this torch is turned on or not. But what does matter is that the redstone trail we use should be exactly 15 blocks long. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15. It doesn't actually matter what path this takes. I'm just putting it on the floor so it's easy to see what's going on. You can sort of hide this in your wall. If you use redstone torches or repeaters, then it will break because this needs to be an analog signal. But apart from that, you can do whatever you like. After the 15th redstone dust piece, place a repeater on its first setting. So as fast as you can make it. Now, put some redstone wire heading off toward your pistons. Branch it so that it is powering the block directly underneath this piston. And branch it again so that it leads to the back of the other piston. Now, remove one of these dust pieces. Actually, one of these dust pieces that has signal coming in straight and going out straight. That's important. Replace it with a block. remove the dust in front, replace it with a torch. This piston will extend, so now we have our starting configuration. Now, if I were to place a cart on this detector rail, you'll notice that this rail is now powered, but our pistons don't change because the cart is empty. If I fill the cart, hang on, wait a minute for that. Alright, have my boats. So, we fill the cart. We should see that with one boat remaining to be filled, there is only one unlit redstone piece. Put the final boat in, and it works just as before. Hey, look, a boat. Now let's build the top half. I've chosen to elevate this off the ground somewhat so that the chest is easy to get to, but you can put it flush on the ground and have the chest in an underground room or whatever kind of arrangement you like. The only important part is that you need to have two... There we go. You need to have two paths for your carts to travel, and they need to be sufficiently long that the carts don't collide. That should do. We'll place our hopper over here. So let's get a hopper. Have to place our chest first. Shift click to place the hopper. You'll know you did it correctly because it'll have this extra little bit facing down. And then we place a powered rail, oops, shift click again, here. And we want another end block right there. Now, we place normal rail all the way around. Like this. Replace this one with a detector rail. And then, oops, I got this all off by one. There. A little different than what I had before, but it'll still work. Now, we need to respect the southeast rule again, which we're currently not doing. This won't work because the cart here will tend to travel straight, which is the same direction that this cart here is going to travel. So they'll collide. We don't want that. To prevent that, we just remove this and put it back and do the southeast rule. Now, this cart will tend to travel around that corner and down. So in just a second, that cart should rebound back up because there's already a cart present. And when it does, oh, hey look, 2 for the price of 1. You can see that they enter in a different trajectory than they leave. That's really important. However, currently there's nothing that will cause this cart to accelerate when the first cart comes back up. So that's what this is for. In my example, I'm just putting a bunch of redstone next to the track to make it obvious what's going on, but there's no reason that you can't hide this somewhere a little bit less obvious if you so desire. Now just remember, because we're using more than 16 redstone dust in a row, we need a repeater. Doesn't really matter where you put that as long as it's kind of somewhere in the middle. And now that's the behavior we want right there. So when that cart comes back up in a second, it'll hit this, trigger that, that cart will head down, and our extra cart, which shouldn't be in the system, will mess everything up. But you can easily get rid of that. So, now, if we go down to the bottom, and, well, let's pretend we filled this full of boats. A few seconds later, here's our return cart. And that's it. We're done. So that's that. I hope you found it informative, or at least entertaining. And if you have any questions or need any clarifications on anything, feel free to leave a comment on the video, and I will get back to you as soon as I can. And apart from that, thanks for watching, and see you guys next time.